Hello and welcome back to my channel. My last video was my pregnancy journey and this is my positive birth story. So I've got little Ziggy Brooks here in the carrier fast asleep. We've just been on our second solo walk. She's 3 weeks old. She's absolutely perfect and I'm so in love with her. And yeah, I really wanted to share my positive birth story because I watched so many of these when I was pregnant. I did not a hypnobirthing course, but I listened to a hypnobirthing podcast, read hypnobirthing books, and it completely changed my whole narrative on labour. And I think that was really important because I've always been really scared of labour because, to be honest, that's what the media kind of portray it as. It's women screaming on their backs in pain and it just seemed really awful. So the hypnobirthing had really helped change that narrative in my mindset, and I was actually really looking forward to it. I was also pretty scared, but I just wanted to consume as many positive birth stories as I could to get in that positive mindset for mine. And I did have a really positive experience. It wasn't the birth plan that I had, but that's okay. She's healthy and it was positive for me. And yeah, so without further ado, this is my positive birth story. So before I go into my birth story, my birth plan was a water birth at the birthing centre. Is that what it's called? God, I've forgotten already. So this for me felt like a good meet in the middle. So it wasn't a home birth, which I just felt like I wouldn't be confident to do that as a first time mum. And then I also didn't want to be necessarily on the labour ward in the hospital. So the birthing suite is where the midwives help you. So there's no sort of doctors on call. You can't have an epidural if you're having a water birth in the birthing suite. And that was something that was playing on my mind towards the end. My mum did all 3 of her births, me and my 2 sisters, unmedicated. And I know a couple of my friends that have done it, and I really wanted to be able to do it. But the closer I got to labour, the more scared I was. And so having an epidural was kind of if I wanted to get one, the birthing suite at Trellisp Hospital, which is where I gave birth in Cornwall, is literally in the same building, I think. So it would have been really easy for me to have transitioned if I wanted the epidural. So yeah, so I wanted a water birth at the birthing suite, and what I got was a vaginal birth, but in the labour ward. But it was incredible. So I was 40 weeks and 4 days, so she was 4 days late. And that day I just felt really fed up. I was really uncomfortable, really tired, sick of waiting, but I had absolutely no signs, literally no signs. I remember that day I went on a massive dog walk. I went and watched Tate surf, my partner, with Gigi, and I was throwing the ball for her. Then I came home and made a massive lasagna for me and Tate. And then went to bed as normal. So my midwife had recommended clary sage oil to me. So this is an essential oil that's supposed to be really good at bringing on labour. I've been using this towards the end of my pregnancy and nothing had happened. But I think it actually works when you're sort of already in labour but you don't realise it, and it just quickens it along. So anyway, I asked Tate to give me a foot massage with the clary sage. So we just sprinkled some drops of the clary sage into a handful of coconut oil, and he gave me a foot massage. Then we put on the telly and he fell asleep, and I was up for maybe another half hour. So this was an hour after the foot massage. The dog was being really weird and just wouldn't leave my side on the bed, and then my waters broke. So it was such a weird feeling. It was literally a plug had been taken out, if you know what I mean. And I woke Tate up and was oh my God, it's happening. It was such a weird feeling. I was so prepared for it, but also oh my God, the realization that it's actually happening. And so we got up and I immediately rang the triage, and there was some discoloration in my waters. So when I called them, they were like, you need to come in because it sounds like she might have done a poo, in which case there's like a worry of there being meconium, is that how you say it now, present. So we got all of our stuff and we got in the car. This was about midnight, and we left Gigi there. Bless her, she didn't no idea what was going on. And I was having no contractions. So the journey in the car is about 25 minutes. I was starting to feel something, but honestly, it was so mild that I didn't even think it was a contraction. It just felt like, I didn't even feel like period pains, to be honest. So I wasn't really sure. I kind of was like, am I making this up in my head? So we got to the hospital and we were seen straight away, and they monitored me and the baby. And basically she was like, I'm really sorry, but she has done a poo. That does mean that we need to monitor you really closely and monitor the baby. And that means that you won't be able to have a water birth. Obviously it was my decision and I could have said, no, I want it. But at that point I was just, I went into my birthing plan with a really open mind, and I didn't mind what happened. I wasn't like set on anything. I just wanted her to be healthy and happy. I wanted her to be healthy and safe. So the fact that they needed to monitor her because of this meconium, that outweighed the need for me to have a water bath. I think secretly I was like, yes, I can get an epidural. So they sent me up to the labour ward, and we got into this really lovely room, and there was like lovely lighting. There was a picture of Lusty Glazed Beach on the side, which is like the beach pretty much closest to our house. And it was really small but intimate and just lovely. And then by that point I had started to get some contractions, and they were kind of like painful but like manageable. I was also really needing the toilet, if you know, you know. And then like within, I don't know, like very quickly, the contractions had just really picked up. So the midwife there offered me like a check to see how dilated I was, and I took it. As in like I allowed her to do that, and I was 1 centimetre. So when they said that, I was like, oh God, we're going to be here for like days. Like people usually get sent home at 1 centimetre to like have early labour at home, I'm pretty sure, because it can take ages. So I was like, oh God, okay, this is going to be a while. But the contractions were just getting so like intense, and they were pretty close together. We just carried on, and I just breathed through them, and I got the gas. The gas for me, like obviously it does help with the pain, but to be honest, as the contractions got more painful, I feel like they weren't that good for the pain. They just really helped me breathe when the contraction was happening, because you sort of take a big gulp in and like breathe it out. So it was really helpful for that. So yeah, I think it was about 3 hours later, the contractions by this point had really, really ramped up, and I was in, I'm not gonna lie, I was in agony. I think I was screaming like, I'm gonna die and I can't do this to Tate. So they then checked me again, and I was 3 centimetres. So I dilated a little bit more. And at that point I was like, I want the epidural. Like, you need to put the epidural in once and then it's just managed. So it doesn't, I thought it kind of like ran out, but it didn't. So I was like, well, you may as well put it in now then, because I am actually in so much pain and I don't want to tire myself out. So I requested the epidural. Unfortunately, the epidural took about 45 minutes to an hour to sort out, because we had to wait for the anaesthetist. And also we had to do it twice, because the first time my left leg basically went numb and felt very weird. So that was a bit scary. So she took it out and she did it again. I also had to have a catheter put in, and that took like 4 or 5 attempts because they couldn't find my veins. So by the time all of that had happened, it was probably just over an hour gone by. And so the epidural was now in, and I was waiting for about 10-15 minutes as it kind of like started to take effect and get into my body. And the midwife was like, I may as well check you again. So she checked me. I was fully dilated. And I thought I really needed to push, like through the contractions. I was like, I feel like I need to push. She was like, surely not, because before I was like an hour ago, I was 3 centimetres. So I had dilated fully in a very short amount of time, which was probably why the contractions were so intense, because I'd gone from like 1 to 100. So she was like, yeah, you need to start pushing. Tate, bless him, he'd like basically got the ball out and was about to have a nap because we thought we were going to be there for ages. So I was like, Tate. And then, yeah, she was like, I had my legs up in the stirrups. I was on my back, which is hilarious because through all the hypnobirthing, I was like, oh, being on your back is so unnatural to give birth. It's like the worst way. But I was on my back. I had my legs in the stirrups. And Tate said, I think I did like 4 rounds of like 4 pushes. And she flew out on like the 20th push. And Tate watched the whole thing, which I find so funny. But he said it was incredible and he was like crying his eyes out. It was amazing. And yeah, she came into the world 6 hours later. So 6 hours after my waters broke, she graced us with her presence. And we did skin to skin, and then we delayed the umbilical cord so that we could get all the nutrients from the placenta. Tate then cut the umbilical cord. And then we did skin to skin, and he did skin to skin, and yeah, it was just incredible. And then she lapped straight away to my boob, and then we were just in this room, in this bubble for like a few hours. They didn't rush us out. We had to stay in for the whole day to keep monitoring mainly baby. So we did get moved to a ward, but they didn't rush us, and I managed to have a shower, and I also birthed the placenta, which we then took home because I turned them into tablets, which is supposed to be really good for like postnatal depression. But yeah, so it was incredible. And what I loved about it as well, I'm very lucky that it was quick. And I don't know if that was the Clary Sage, but when we arrived, midwife had just started her shift. And because it was like a 6-hour labour, we had the same midwife delivering the baby, and she was so lovely. Like, I want to send her something. She was young and just, yeah, amazing, and took all our photos for us. And yeah, so all in all, it was really positive. I can't thank everybody at Trelisk enough. We were really looked after. And yeah, then we came home at like 6-7 o'clock that day. My parents had picked up Gigi and taken her to Tate's mum. So when we got home, it was just me, Tate, and the baby. We were like, okay, what do we do now? It's crazy that that's 3 weeks ago. It feels like a lifetime. And yeah, she's just perfect. And since then, it has been a wild ride, but also just incredible. Like, I can't believe what my body did. It's amazing what women go through. And yeah, I will do another update on like newborn life, but I'm absolutely loving it, and it's worth all those contractions. So yeah, I hope that this helps anybody that's feeling a little bit anxious about labour. Even if it doesn't go to your birth plan, it can still be a magical, wonderful, positive experience, and it's something that I will treasure forever. And yeah, it's brought me my little Ziggy. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to share like all our adventures. We have already been on so many beautiful hikes in Cornwall together, and she's only 3 weeks. I just can't wait to share all of that and all of our adventures. And now I'm about to go and order her, but sort out her passport, because we've already got a trip to Indonesia planned this year and many more adventures to come. So subscribe and follow us along on this journey, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.